What's up everyone, the 1.11 patch for Soul Calibur 6 is coming tomorrow, so what I'm going to do in this morning's video, this morning for me, is to go over Zasalamel and Groh's changes. Now the reason I'm doing these two characters is basically because they are the two characters I know the most about, but they also are conveniently placed together in the English translations that we got this morning. So what you want to do is go to Okubo's Twitter account. I'm going to leave his links in the description. Go to his Twitter account and he has basically groups of English translations of the patch notes now posted together. So this is the Twitter account you're going to want to find. It's the creative director of Soul Calibur 6, and if you just scroll down, it's literally going to be right at the top of the page, probably all day today, and you're going to be able to see all of the English translations of the notes put there very conveniently. So once again, we're going to be going over Zasalamel and Groh only this morning in this morning's video, just because, like I said, they're the two characters I know. I'm a Zasalamel main, so I'm going to go over him first, and then we'll do Groh next. And you can see my takes on Groh, which are interesting because he has a bunch of buffs and barely any nerfs. And so a lot of people are worried about the character because he's already really good in most people's opinion, including mine. But I actually think Groh's getting worse because his nerfs are actually much more meaningful than his buffs. But I'm going to start with Zasalamel. So, in the behaviour adjustments we have sorcery activation, fixed an issue in which the curses would not disappear under certain conditions. I have never experienced this myself, so it doesn't seem very consistent or meaningful, but basically sometimes he wouldn't lose his curses after spending them, I assume. That's not going to happen anymore, fine. Free AB hold fixed an issue in which special inputs would cause the character to become slow. So I didn't ever actually see this clip, but I think it happened to John Nitti in tournament, whereby some kind of time stop interaction made it so that his free AB hold actually slowed down as he did it. Really strange. It's not going to be there anymore. That's good, fine. While soul charged, A plus B fixed an issue in which hitting the opponent behind you would push them away rather than draw them in. Once again, never happened to me, but it's pretty cheap that you can pull them in even when they're behind you and get the plus frames, but that's what the move's supposed to do. Visually, it creates an entire bubble, so now it works properly. Now we get to the behaviour adjustments that have up arrows, which mean that even though they are fixes, they are also buffs. 4A. Enlarge the hitbox of the second hit that automatically triggers upon the hit or guard in order to prevent it from missing. So 4A is a really long range 20 frame horizontal high, and if it connects with them, a second hit comes out naturally. It's actually a string, but it only has one button, and the second button only ever comes out if it connects with their hurt box, right? And basically this move is funky, it's finicky, as it's unbelievable just how messy this move is right now. So the second hit never ever connects on Raphael, so it's totally launch punishable on block against Raphael for no reason. And then it has really varying frame data on a bunch of characters. Most of the time it's like -2, sometimes it's or -4, sometimes it's -2, sometimes it's +2, depending on the character you use it on. It's really weird. So it's getting fixed, and when it's working, it's a really good move. So I'm going to be happy to just feel consistent in using it. It's a nice buff, even though it's a fix. 4-4-B hold, change the opponent's animation during lethal hit. This is to prevent follow-up attacks from missing depending on the situation. 4-4-B hold lethal hits post guard crush, and only on certain guard crushes. It's the optimal guard crush combo. If you guard crush with the best guard crush tools like 6BB or 3AK, you can then follow up with 4-4-B hold for the optimal guard crush combo. It actually does a lot of damage. Obviously, guard crush combos scale really harshly, but it actually ends up being one of the most damaging combos you can do with Zasalamel. I personally haven't had problems with the consistency of the follow-up combo, but this may actually mean different combos. I might have just found a more consistent one. There may be better combos that we can do now. They tend to fall down really fast, so a lot of front combos you can't do. So I do 4B plus K to throw them behind. And I can see 4B plus K does have a tendency to to whiff, sorry, when they're at an angle. So yeah, once again, it's a fix, but it's a positive fix, right? 44K improved the attack's tracking when performing a guard impact to prevent the attack from missing when repelling the opponent's attack. So 44K is a auto GI. It auto GIs lows and lethal hits when it does that, right? It's a safe high. It's quite slow. It's got good range. It's a hard read on a low for big reward, and it's going to be more consistent. Fine. Against mid-air opponent, 8A+B, adjusted the attack's tracking and size of its hitbox against mid-air opponents to prevent the attack from missing during air combos. Pretty self-explanatory. It's the air grab, the one where picks you up and throws you down when you're already in the air. Maybe this allows for new combos, but I think it's pretty much to make it more consistent, because on a lot of lethal hits, we ended up changing the combos we did because it would just kind of randomly whiff if you were even the slightest of angles. If it's more consistent, that's brilliant, because I prefer to go for those combos. When you have curses, you can get big combo damage. It's one of the combos that allows you to spend curses for big damage. And if it does allow for new combos, like maybe off of 6XP plus K normal hit, or 22B, some of those higher, but not quite as high as the lethal hit launchers, then that's even better. Okay, critical edge. They're still not changing or making it that much worse, which is really, really stupid, even coming from a Zasalamel player. I don't want the character to be defined by how cheap his critical edge is. They should nerf it. They haven't. Right? Change the move to draw the opponent in and turn the character toward them when successfully performing a guard impact. Zasalamel's guard impact for his critical edge like sends you away a bit. And so if you do a move from certain ranges, he'll actually send you far enough away that even though he guard impacts you, he pushes you out of the range of the attack. Now, I don't think his critical edge should work the way it does, but if it is going to work the way it does, when you get a guard impact, it should probably hit them. So that's fine. Delayed the effect's timing, making it more difficult for the opponent to respond to the attack after seeing it. I have really no idea, because you can't react to the flash and step. So I don't know what that really means. Yeah, no idea, really. Right now, we thought that in the last patch they were going to make it so that you could step the flash on reaction, which would have been totally fair. At that point, it would be like kind of like Yoshimitsu's almost in a way, but with a guard impact. So it'd be even better than Yoshimitsu's. But if you just threw it out, they could step it. So it being plus on block, fine, right? But nope, that didn't happen, and they're now saying that they're fixing something to do with something like that happening, but it doesn't happen. So no idea. Change the moves category from horizontal attack to vertical attack to better allow for sidestepping as an evasive maneuver. So it already did become a lot more linear in the last patch. So I'm not really sure. Maybe it'll be even more linear now. The tiniest of it already feels like the tiniest of preemptive steps already beat it. But if that's even more so, then good. Then that is a nerf. And it's also relevant for certain lethal hit and yeah, basically certain lethal hit conditions where, you know, this will lethal hit if it hits a vertical or a horizontal. Those conditions will change. That might affect some matchups. Some people might get lesser punishes on a whiffed critical edge. We'll see. Enlarge the hitbox vertically to reduce instances in which the attack would miss at close range. This is something I actually have had. For quite a few times I've had IVs 22k seemingly go under the critical edge. Now there is a slight sidestep in 22k, so that might be the case, but it definitely looked quite a few times like moves the characters went under, like it had a relatively high hitbox for a mid, so it's going to have an even bigger upwards and downwards hitbox. It doesn't really need it. The move is incredibly cheap. It's getting better overall, most likely. There you go. 6AA. Reduced the opening after the first attack while also increasing the length of stun it inflicts when guarded, effectively reducing the overall risk of the attack. So just 6A by itself is getting better on block and on hit, basically, which is fine. Sometimes you can sort of do some things to option select the 6A series' extensions. So 6A itself being better on block and hit gives you a tiny bit more reason to play a bit of mind games and just do the first hit and then do something else, right? So that's fine. Improved the breadth and the tracking of the first hit of the attack. So this is a similar case with 4A, but 6A, whilst it's counted as a horizontal, Zasalamel basically has the scythe here and he puts it out there. So it covers all of one side and it doesn't really track on this other side very much at all. So even though it might not fit with the animation, it looks like they want to increase the tracking a bit, which as a horizontal, that's fine. You want a horizontal to catch people stepping. There you go. Change the opponent's animation of the first attack when it hits or is guarded. Sure, so, you know, it's improved on attack and on block. So basically the changes to 6AA here are actually just changes to 6A. Better tracking, better on block and on hit. Totally fine. The overall, yeah, the extension didn't get changed on hit or counter hit or on block. It didn't get made more plus on block. It's just the first hit. 6A. Oh wait, no. Yeah, 6AB. Enlarge the vertical hitbox to reduce the instances in which the attack would miss at very close range. 6AA is a high that doesn't jail on block. You can duck it. 6AB is the high mid to catch people ducking. Keep in mind that while it lethal hits in some situations, it doesn't lethal hit if you block the high. It only lethal hits if you whiff the high and then they duck into the mid. Enlarge the vertical hitbox, so it's a fix. It just makes the hitbox better. It doesn't really change the properties of the move in any way. That's fine. Now here, Zasalamel got only buffs, pretty much, right? They're only buffs. He didn't get any nerfs, so he's obviously getting better. But most of these, as you've seen so far, are pretty much hitbox fixes. Stop this from whiffing, make this more consistent with its tracking, slightly better on block for a move that's already punishable on block, right? So this is the change that's big. This change is big. It's a big buff, right? Free AK. Increase the length of stun inflicted by the first hit. This effectively reduces the risk of the attack when it ends after the first hit and makes it harder to evade free AB by sidestepping. So, Zasalamel's free A series is the 16 frame mid horizontal with counter hit properties. But if you block free A, 1, it's punishable by itself. 2, you could pretty much option select all of the follow-ups with a step in certain directions or a guard impact. There are situations where you could step both the free AB and the free AK and then have time to block for the free AB hold, etc, etc. You could basically, if you blocked this attack, you could make it pretty much launch punishable by avoiding all of the follow-ups, or most of the time 2 out of 3 of the follow-ups, and then the other one you could deal with in some other way. Free AB, if it's much harder to step, I hope that basically means they can't step it, because it's 16, it's minus 16 on block. You should have to block that string and punish it. You should have to basically read between block the mid and punish it, duck the high and punish it, or step the held version, which is plus 0 on block, right? That way, it makes it kind of like a situation where Zasalamel is still taking a risk every time he uses it. There is always a risk that you block and punish, step and punish, or duck and punish, but you can't just step and kill everything. So that's huge, for one, and it gets better. Reduces the opening after the second hit, whilst also increasing the length of stun it inflicts when guarded, effectively reducing the overall risk of the attack. Free AK right now is the mid-high version, that's the string we're talking about here. And it's minus 10 on block, meaning that a few of the characters can punish it. It's safe against most of the cast. If they make it minus 8 or even minus 6, just make it safe to the entire cast. Great. And did it say anything? Reduce the opening. So it just improved on block. Nothing about it being on hit. It already has good frames on hit. Change the move's hit behavior as a normal hit, but also added scaling to its combo damage. This was done upon consideration of its use as a wall combo. So, if Zasalamel's free AK is going to Wall Splat on normal hit. That is amazing. That is amazing. Zasalamel's war game right now is already really, really strong. If he has 2 curses, he has a situation where he has the unseeable low with curses. If you have 2 curses, you can get a Wall Splat from it. Unseeable low into Wall Splat. Unseeable mids, 3k is safe. A safe 14 frame mid Wall Splat to mix up with it, right? And then he has the command grab, the front break command grab, which gives a curse and Wall Splats. So command grabs being +8 on break, you can go for the command grab, and they're pretty much going to break front throw there, because it Wall Splatters and the back throw won't, which kind of makes back throws free, which is like 50 damage. Front throw, command grab, either you get a Wall Splat and a massive combo and you get 3 curses from your Wall Splats as Zasalamel, or you get +8 and you just put them in another mix-up. The only really strong way to deal with the most dangerous sides of Zasalamel's war game currently are to step, because all of these tools other than the throw are horizontal, but if you've already stepped into the throw, it's probably not going to Wall Splat, and you can still break it, and the +8 isn't as scary if your back isn't right to the wall. So while Zasalamel has really strong step killing tools, it's one of his strengths. They don't sort of give him extra reward at the wall until now. 3 AK Wall Splatting or normal and counter hit, you'd have to assume. That's insane. That's a 16 frame mid horizontal natural combo Wall Splat. So his wall game, once again, only has the low part of this mix-up when he has the curses, when he has 2 or 3. But when he does, his wall game is just, in terms of utility, it's perfect. You literally couldn't have anything else to make his wall game better. Other characters do a lot more damage at the wall, but in terms of the actual tools that you have, his wall game, with when he has 2 curses, insane. Absolutely insane. Huge buff. And the Soul Charge extension version of this string has also been buffed. While Soul Charged 3AKB, so there's an extension in Soul Charge, increase the length of stun inflicted when guarded, so slightly safer, I assume, on block. Improve the tracking of the 3rd hit after the 2nd hit connects, in order to reduce the instances of it missing. Pretty self-explanatory. Shouldn't have happened, but sometimes you would land it and the 3rd hit would whiff. Didn't happen very often. It's not going to happen anymore, hopefully. Increase the attack's base damage. So this string is, you might as well think of it as a launcher, because it's a natural string, 3 AKB, and then you get like a single hit follow up, and it adds up to basically being a full combo. So it's a 16 frame mid horizontal launcher. Even though it's not an aerial combo, you get a lot of damage and a follow up. Right? It's being improved, safer on block, etc. You can still, the first 2 hits don't jail. You can still block the mid, duck the high, and interrupt in the middle. So you can essentially punish it either way. If you're looking for the string, block the mid, duck the high, punish. And finally, 2-2B, and this is basically a generic change across the cast. These moves that come off for sidestep that are intended to be used as sidestep with punishes, their hitboxes are being buffed, and they're being given properties to specifically catch people after they whiff an attack. 2-2B, I've had it so much recently, like on stream, I'm sat there getting salty as hell, because I'm like setting up, I'm reading, I sidestep, I 2-2B, whew, it just whiffs. It's not as bad as Astaroth's, but Zasalamel's is pretty bad for it. The fact that this move, which is an incredible move, Zasalamel's 2-2B is an incredible move, and pretty much all the Zasalamel players have just kind of got sick of it and started to just stop using it, because so often it can just screw you over for trying to use it. It's really looking like these moves across the whole cast are being fixed, and that we're going to go back to using this move a lot again, which makes me really happy. That's the last change for Zasalamel. So, mostly what Zasalamel got were fixes. He didn't get many big buffs. He really didn't, right? But the 3 AK change at the wall is nuts. The fact that some of these moves that are really strong are going to be more consistent even though they are fixes, which are kind of buffs, but you know, they're really fixes. The fact that some of these moves like 4A, 6A, and 2-2B are going to be more consistent all of the time does make the character a lot better, because you're going to use those moves more, and those moves are really good. So yeah, Zasalamel obviously is coming out of this patch looking really good, especially with some of the top characters being nerfed. Once again, just like the last patch, I already thought Zasalamel was pretty good, probably top 10. Top characters get brought down, Zasalamel gets brought up. It's looking good. So let's move over to Groh. Now, once again, like I've said, I actually think I've read these twice, and I actually think Groh's gotten worse. Which, when you look at the arrows here, it definitely doesn't look like. Let's quickly go over why. Behavior adjustment. While in Avenger stance, B plus K. A plus B, sorry, and while in Avenger stance, B plus K. Adjusted the input window to make the move easier to perform. It doesn't really change anything about the gameplay. It helps not to mess up your inputs. There you go. AA and 66K enlarge the hitbox in order to reduce the instances in which the attack would miss at close range. So, if you ask me, Groh's AA already has pretty sick range, but slight hitbox buffs doesn't really change gameplay that much. You know, better hitbox on the AA and your 66K. Fine. 8A plus B and 8-way run A plus B fixed an issue in which the ring out behaviour was exhibited after the attack, even when the battle was still ongoing. I really have no idea, but it doesn't sound like a big consistent change, just sort of like a weird issue that's been fixed. A plus B. Adjusted the move so that the character faces towards the opponent after the attack or hits or is guarded. This change was made because combos after lethal hits had previously been shifting away from the opponent, failing to connect. More consistent combos on his A plus B. Thank God that A plus B itself hasn't actually been buffed in any way. Because, you know, when he enters into Avenger stance with those plus frames, it is terrifying. 66AA made it harder for the second hit to miss when hitting the opponent with the tip of the weapon. Personally, if you ask me, if your move literally makes every move in the game whiff, then you should whiff sometimes. That's a joke, but fine. His 66AA is already incredible, and it had, I suppose, some inconsistencies that it doesn't anymore. Sure. 2-2B. Increase the attack's tracking against opponents who missed an attack. Same thing I was talking about with Zasalamel, just more consistent as a sidestep with Punisher. That's good. I'm really glad that that's a generic change across the cast. They seem to have specifically focused on it. That it was in the generic information patch notes. There wasn't anything really interesting in there, so I decided not to go over it. But they did mention that across the whole cast, these moves will be whiffing less, and then they've also mentioned them for the moves themselves. So they're putting themselves in a position where it really has to be fixed, to be honest, and I believe it will be. So it's 2-2B, more consistent as a sidestep with Punisher. But once again, doesn't really change the way the character works. It just makes moves that should have been consistent. It's not really a buff, it's a fix, right? While in Avenger stance, A plus B. While soul charged and in Avenger stance, 6A. Adjusted the breadth and tracking of the attack to make it easier to hit opponents who sidestep at close range. Once again, not really a buff. Doesn't make the character better than he was intended to be. It just makes his stuff work better, right? These are horizontal attacks, and now they're proper horizontals that actually track. Sure. But we just came to the end of Groh's up arrows, and we're now going to go to his down arrows. Did you hear anything there that made you think, wow, Groh is getting even worse, you know, he's so terrifying now? No, they were fixes. They were fixes, really. Nothing about that makes the character better. It just makes him work the way he's intended to originally. Nothing about that makes me go, oh God, you know. So nothing really got scarier about Groh. And yet, even though these nerfs aren't major, they are actually meaningful. And this is why I think he's got worse. Let's quickly go over these. While in Avenger stance, A, and while in Avenger stance, A hold. This is the like helicopter spin low, right? The non-held version is unseeable for most people. The non-held version is unseeable and it's -20 on block. The held version is definitely seeable. It's safe on block. It's -10 with pushback. It does 15% guard damage, which is disgusting. And it can actually break guard, and it also lethal hits after a guard crush. Change the knockback direction of the opponent to front right on hit. So basically, right now, the held version, I didn't mention this, I listed all of its properties other than this, rings out. You can actually ring them out with this low, which is really rough because even though it's a seeable low, there are some situations where in combos, he can launch you high enough that it actually obscures Groh on the screen. And then he can go for an Avenger mix-up as you come down, and it's obscured what he's doing. So he can go for his big slow break attack and have it hit you. He can go for the big slow low and have it, you know, and you pretty much have to guess without being able to see what is intended to be a seeable low. So there are setups for this which are really nasty, especially seeing as both of these big slow attacks that you really should be able to react to also do ridiculous guard damage and break guard, right? Change the knockback direction of the opponent to front right on hit. So from the sounds of it to me, maybe they're just intending to change the Oki situation after this, but it actually sounds to me like this may have significantly less ring out potential on hit. So that's pretty nice. Pretty nice nerf. I mean, it's pretty nice for the rest of us. While in Avenger stance, B plus K, this is the mid-break attack. Decrease the amount of guard stamina the attack reduces. This move does 23% guard damage. 23% guard damage. And if you're playing a Groh that knows what they're doing and they're entering into Avenger stance in situations where you have to respect the vast majority of their options, a lot of the time you are just going to stand there and block, and then it can be very hard to deal with trying to step the break attack on reaction. 23% guard damage is nuts. It's absolutely nuts. It literally is like if you land 3 of those and a couple of pokes in a round on block, then you're in a position where the next attack that can break their guard will. Groh literally breaks guard it so quickly. For a character who is a rushdown character, and not even just rushdown, he's like a rushdown mix-up stance character. He gets in your face, he's doing these mix-ups, and he has the ability to enforce really strong low-mid mix-ups on you. The character should want to hit you, and yet he's so rewarded for when you are just trying to deal with his mix-ups in the best way, and you end up blocking something. He's so rewarded because his guard damage game is so crazy. So not getting 23% guard damage on a single move is always a good thing in my opinion. If you ask me, I don't think there's really any moves that should do more than 20% guard damage at the very least. So we'll see how much of a reduction it is, but it's nice regardless. Last one. While soul charged, 1 AK. This is the horizontal low into the attack throw, pick up, slams them down, and sort of like, you know, does like a blast on them, does ridiculous. It does like a full launcher's worth of damage for a low. 28 frames, so should be considered seeable. Hard for a lot of people, especially because the low kind of looks like some of his other moves. It's one of those where you could have a discussion about whether or not it's actually seeable. Some people seem to be able to react to it, so there you go. Made the attack unusable as a guard crush. So if he goes for the extension, he does 1A, a K, you can block the low, stand up, block the mid, and then he's at like -24 or -26. It's very, very, very punishable. But before, evidently, he could do this and potentially get a guard crush after you block the low anyway with the mid. Removing that is just a good thing. I don't really know how you could argue against it. A move like that should not be breaking the guard and giving them a full combo anyway. So that's Groh. And as you can see, more buffs than nerfs, but the buffs were minor / not really buffs at all. They were just fixes to make things more consistent. Obviously that improves a character, but he didn't gain things to make him more scary, but he did lose some of the more ridiculous aspects of some of these moves, with 1AK knock guard breaking, Avenger B plus K doing less guard damage, and potentially having one of his ring out tools nerfed as well. These are meaningful, if not massive nerfs. So if you ask me, Groh gets worse in the next patch. A lot of people are sort of like on the Groh's too good right now and he's got all of these buffs. You have to read them, you have to really look at them. I think the nerfs matter more than the buffs. So I think he gets worse. So that's it for me this morning. Obviously this patch is going to drop tomorrow. So very quickly we're going to move on from analysing the patch notes and just get on to analysing the new gameplay. I'm going to see if I can get another one of these videos out tonight, but I definitely wanted to do Zasalamel and Groh, as like I said at the beginning, they are the two characters I know the most about, so I can immediately go in and analyse the changes and how they're going to affect their gameplay. And like I say, we'll see if I can do some more tonight. If not, we'll definitely be doing some more videos on the changes once they've come out. Thank you all for watching. Please check out the links I put in the description. You can follow me on Twitter. I have now started streaming on Twitch, etc, etc. Check out my links. I'd really appreciate it. Thanks everyone, and I'll see you all soon.